Hey guys, now in today's video, we're going to take a look at technology that's going to keep your house clean. And it doesn't matter what surface you have, carpet, wood, or tile. We're talking about the ECOVACS DEEBOT X2. And this is one of the most advanced robots that we reviewed on the channel in quite some time. We're going to see this little guy in action. You're going to see how well he cleans. We're going to see how it takes care of even avoiding poop. Because guess what? This robot did pass our poop test. Let's go to check it out. So the ECOVACS DEEBOT X2 is one of the most advanced robots that we reviewed on the channel. And it's not just advanced, but it's also very powerful. This is a vac mop combo that has a fantastically large battery. We're talking about 6,400 milliamp hours of power. It also has a dual laser LiDAR system, that is going to help it literally navigate throughout your home. And it also gives it a lot of smarts too, because it's able to detect some of the things that you may have lying on the floor. Because let's face it, we don't always pick up all of our things when we are vacuuming or have the robots going. It also has one of the most powerful vacuum suction power that we've seen, 8,000 PA. And one of the things that you can see here is how this vacuum compares to the ECOVACS T20 Omni that we just recently reviewed. And you'll see that there's some differences here, both in the battery as well as in the LiDAR, and then also on the suction power. One having 6,000 and this one having 8,000. Now, one of the things that they both have in common is that they both feature this 131-degree Fahrenheit hot water cleaning system that is really going to clean the actual pads themselves. And it's a different approach because we've seen different robots where the pads basically go in to get wet and then they come out and it rotates. In this case, the pads stay in the docking station, and it has a hot cleaning solution that takes place where it air dries hot, but then also you have all this kind of tech going inside that makes it better when it comes to cleaning the floor of your home. The big thing about this is, and why we're spending time on this, is because if you have dirty mop pads or you have smelly mop pads, you're going to get smelly floors. You're going to have also spotty floors. And as you can see, my floors are shiny, and we just use robots. And this definitely is doing a really nice job. It does also have dual spinning pads that are rotating at 180 RPM, and also has the ability to push down and have some pressure to get stubborn stains. It has also this air drying tech that we talked about, this auto hot air drying tech that is really facilitate having those clean pads. If you have wood, carpet, or tile, don't worry, this knows. And one of the things about this is that this one in particular, and you'll notice that with the DEEBOT T20, it had a 9mm lift, which means how high was the back of, or where these pads are, raising from the floor. So it would go 9. This one actually goes 15, which is significantly higher, which means that if you have a real tall rug that has a lot of pile, this one's going to do really well. Has multiple stages for cleaning. Has one of the longest, I'll say broadest brushes that I've seen. And I don't know if calling it a brush is what I would call it, but the roller inside, it's a rubberized brush that is tangle-free, and it basically is not going to scratch your floor. It does have the little whiskers that go around. It has one of those as well to help sweep things in. And I can tell you, we had some spilled coffee, and it was able to wipe it clean in the first pass. The coffee it just didn't survive. It just got sucked up really quickly. Now, this does have this new Osmo Turbo 2 technology, right? 2.0, that's going to be able to really help with its navigation. It has deep cleaning tech as well. There's a lot of also lab technology that you can enable, like we enabled the pet detection, the poop detection, and it did really well in our poop test. We actually had 3D printed poop and wanted to see if it would navigate around that. I also put some cups and I put cables just to see if I could trip it up. And while it wasn't 100% of the time, it did get through and avoid it at least 90% of the time. And you'll see in some of our video how that took place. And the other thing is that it's voice activated. So you can actually use your voice to make the robot function. I have mine on a schedule, so don't really use the voice too much, but it does have a voice assistant. Now, the DEEBOT X2 is a relatively small unit. You'll notice that by my windowsill how high the unit is coming off the ground if you're really concerned about how big it will be in your home. It does have a discrete button here that's going to be multifunction that you can use this to start and pause, as well as do a self-cleaning depending on the pressing that you do, either a short press or a long press. You'll notice that the DEEBOT or the X2 is just tucked away here, and it's just in this space charging. Now, a couple things that we'll highlight about this is that it does have a compartment here that's kind of hidden. That is where all your debris is going to be stored. This is where all the dust is stored. Now, one standout feature is the LED treatment. You can see the LED treatment here, and you can see the LED treatment here. Makes it look pretty cool and futuristic. Now, on the top of the station, you're going to find your dirty water container, your clean water container. I'll bring this up so you can see. This is actually dirty. It's a little shaded, but it's also very, very dirty. And we're always surprised how much dirt the actual robots are able to pick up. Here's a clean water tank. You can see that guy's full almost to the top. And basically what you have is also a set of instructions and details about the actual docking station. But pretty much all you're doing is filling up the clean water tank and then emptying out the dirty water tank. And the system will tell you in the event that the tanks are full or empty. Now, the dust container is found here, and it's pretty tricky because if you push here, nothing's going to happen. But if you push right here, it opens up. This is where you're going to find, again, all of the debris that's being picked up. It's a self-emptying robot, so you don't have to worry about removing the little compartment that carries all the dust or dirt that it may pick up. It does it all right here, which is really nice, and all you have to do is pull this out to just replace it. Now, the first thing we'll notice is that the robot does have a really nice futuristic LED, but it's also missing the kind of radar LiDAR that typically sits at the very top of most robots, which is going to give it a really low profile, and it's going to be able to get underneath many, many things. If you remove this part right here, you'll see all the stuff that's going on here as far as the power is concerned. This is where you're going to do your Bluetooth pairing, as well as syncing your robot. Put this back out, it locks it magnetically. As we flip this over, we'll see some of the stuff that's going on in the bottom, and then we'll take a look at the front. On the bottom of the robot, you're going to see that it has two rotating, I would say, mop heads. The cool thing about these mop heads is that when it goes into the actual docking station, they are air dried. Very important. If you have smelly mop pads, you have a smelly floor. I've said this before, and this is really important also for keeping the mop pads as, I would say, as new as possible. Has some really grippy wheels. And then one of the things that sets this unit apart from others is how wide this area is here. So this is the dust collection area that is basically, as this little sweeper right here is rotating and sweeping dust in or dirt, this guy right here is just like scooping it into the system. Now, the cool thing about this is that this is rubber. So this is not going to scratch your floor, especially if you have wood floors. And you see that my floors are all wood and they shine and there are no scratches. This is easy to move just by pushing these buttons right here. This will come out. And this is one of the largest that I've seen in the market. I normally don't see, a roller like this that's for dust and debris collection that is this wide, which is really, really nice. Now, as we flip this guy over, there's a couple things that we'll also notice. And this was maybe one of the most obvious things that we noticed about the robot when we just got it, is that the shape is very different. It's not round, which makes it more effective when it comes to getting into corners in your home. The round robots typically have difficulty because of the shape, right? Unless you had circles or arches instead of like hard, I would say angles, like a 90-degree angle on the wall. The robots like this one specific, because of how it's designed, it's going to have an easier time getting into those areas. Now in the front, you do have their, I would say, sensors or their LiDAR. This is a next generation solution, and you'll notice that it's found in the front of the robot, not on the top, giving it that easy access that we spoke of. Down here, if we take a look at what's going on inside, you have a removable tray, which I absolutely love. This, I know this is going to sound a little silly. This geeked me out, because if you've ever had to clean a robot tray, taking it out like this and taking it to your sink and just washing it out is spectacular. Love this feature. Wish everybody else did this, because I'm telling you, I literally had to get on my knees and then just, with a towel, wipe things down. Love that this is removable. I know that it's a small thing, but it's the small things that make a difference. Snaps into place really nicely. And again, it's going to clean itself. It's going to use hot water to clean it, and it's going to be brand new. Now, the robot does have an onboard camera, streams really well. It gives you the ability to use this almost like a security system or a sentry that can navigate your home. I think that that's a great plus. Now, we also have the ECOVACS T20, and I wanted to just give you a slight comparison between the two so you can see the two. You'll notice that the T20 is a little bit taller when it comes from a physical appearance. Also, as we take a look at the tanks, you'll notice that the water container and also the dirty water container for the T20 is slightly larger than the actual X2. Now, the way you access the dust bag on each of these is a little bit different. So here,
you press and it opens. Over here, there's a little button on the bottom and it opens. But both of them are easy to access. Now, there are several things that are very different about the two robots, and we did talk about how the ECOVACS X2 has the new modern sensor that is not on the top where you see it over here. This actually has a simpler sensor design. This actually has a more, I'd say, robust and more capable sensor than what you're seeing right here when it comes to navigation. You'll also notice that from a design perspective, obviously this one's a circle, this one's more rectangular or square in the very front, giving it better reach when it comes to getting into corners. Now, given the differences in the sensors, the ECOVACS X2 is going to be more capable when it comes to getting underneath shorter appliances, or, you know, if you think about chairs and other things where you wanted to get in a little bit lower. There are also changes that you see here in the bottom. So first of all, you can see that they have very similar when it comes to the actual mops themselves and even the wheels. However, that's as far as it goes. There are some changes here where the whiskers, you have a single whisker on the X2, but you have a very, very long, notice the difference here between these two guys. This is a significantly longer opening when it comes to being able to suck up debris. And you'll notice that they both have this rubberized bottom that's going to make sure that it's not going to scratch the surfaces that it's working on. The other thing I would highlight is that both of these have sensors that really help it so that it doesn't fall, right? So if you're worried about stairs, if you're working about those things, these both have sensors that are going to basically understand when they're off the ground. And immediately, as soon as I pick them up, they tell me, hey, I'm off the ground. So it knows all that stuff, so they're pretty smart. But biggest difference that you see, again, is the design. Now, something else that's a little bit different with this one right here. First of all, the battery life, you're looking at 6,400 milliamp hours versus over here, you have 5,200 milliamp hours. Dual laser versus not. And then also the suction on this guy right here, you're talking about 8,000 PA versus 6,000 PA, right? And the other thing that is unique is that the mop itself here, and it's kind of it's a little hard to see, but this one's more, even though it's kind of raised, it's not as bumpy in this area. So over here, you'll notice that there's kind of like a little ledge here, which gives the back a higher clearance. So this one actually could go up 15 millimeters, which means that as it's going over carpet, this raise is higher than this one does right here. This one actually comes out a little bit more, even though it's also carpet friendly. Now, as you guys recall, the X2 does have a removable tray. And as you look at the tray over here on the T20, it is not, it is fixed. But they do look somewhat similar in the inside when it comes to the overall mechanics. All right, so we did put the robot through several poop tests, both in hardwood floors as well as on tile. They did a really good job identifying it. You notice that it came up to the poop here, and this is 3D printed poop, and it stopped and avoided it. We also have different angles where we continue to put poop in different areas to see if it would run into it, and surprisingly, it did not. You'll also notice how well those scrubbers are being pushed down on our floor, and you can see how they're pushing down and really cleaning the floor really well. And my floor has no spots. So this is another thing that I look at for a robot to be able to clean the area and not see any spots as it's going through the area that's cleaning. So great effect here. You can see right here how well it cleaned. And the other thing I would say about it is that this robot is relatively quiet. We've seen other robots that have run, and they can make a lot of noise. This one does the right amount of noise for the size. And the other thing that we did, and you'll see here, is we had it go through kind of like a cup test. So we had some cups put around to see how well it did. It did really good navigating around. It did bump like when it went back, as it pulled back. It doesn't have sensors behind it, you know, on the back of it. So we found that it would bump as it's turning around, but it did a really good job of trying to avoid it. And here again, we did another poop test just to see if it did well in the poop area. Now here we again had it face the poop, but this time in tile, you'll notice it went up to it, it stopped, and it started to work its way around it. So again, another successful poop test. Now in this area, we basically put some tomato sauce and let it dry for 24 hours. And this is a hard test. I really haven't had a robot be able to pass this, at least on one pass, because this thing, it's like you have to use your nail to scrub it off. And I wanted to see how well it would do. And as it was going over, it started loosening it. You're going to see me through this recording go through it a couple times. It actually went through 3 times, almost 4 times, and it was making a dent. However, when it went over the coffee, it just sucked up the coffee. It did a really good job not leaving anything behind. The suction is really strong, but I found that it fared no different than some of the other robots I've tested when it comes to really dried, caked-in items. And that's despite the fact that it was set to the highest liquid setting so that it would drop more liquid. But you can see right here how it's just, sucking up all of the coffee that was there spilled on the floor. So the bottom line is, if you're going to have it pick up some really old stained items, it's probably going to take multiple passes in order to do that. But this, again, fared no differently than some of the other robots that we've tested that had to go over some dry areas like this as well. And you can see every single time this robot is going over the specific area, it is picking things up to the point where without any kind of intervention on my part, the stain actually got smaller and smaller and smaller.
So guys, that wraps up our review. See you in the next video.